Alrighty folks, today we're going to be talking about your rhomboids. We're going to be talking about these muscles between your shoulder blades, and we're going to talk about why they're weak on your body. We're going to be discussing what activities might have made our rhomboids stronger in the past and why modern life makes our rhomboids really weak. I'm going to explain all of this in this video with the help of this bag of rice and a bunch of random things that I've got on the ground here. Now, before we get started, I also want to say thanks to Jeffrey Bruce, who's the one who asked this question on my last video, my last live stream about the rhomboids. He basically asked, hey, what's the deal? Like, we know from our modern lives, we aren't sitting, we're sitting a lot, so we aren't squatting, we're not walking, we're not running, we're not crawling, climbing, and doing all these things, and that leads to weak hip muscles. What could we do? What did we used to do that kept our rhomboids strong? What were the primal activities that would have worked these muscles that are now missing from our modern lives? So we're going to dive into all of that. So thanks for that question, Jeffrey Bruce. Now, primal activities that would have worked our rhomboids would include anything where we are basically pulling this way and getting our shoulder blades to come together against some kind of resistance. So just, I know I've seen some people just kind of like do stuff like this or just kind of hold their arms back here and they're hoping that they're going to work their rhomboids, but that's not enough. We're looking for things that actually really challenge them. And you don't have to look very far to see primal activities that would cause those muscles to work. So for example, let's say I needed to carry a basket, okay? Let's say I need to pick up a sack of something, all right? If my food sources are not so readily available that I can just throw them in the microwave and punch a few buttons, my body has to do more work, right? There are people who still need to walk miles to put water into a basket or bucket, pick it up, which right here already your rhomboids are gonna have to work, and then they need to either carry it like this, or if they're really good, they put it up here. But the point is, they still need to lift it. If you are involved in farming or in your backyard, you are gardening and you encounter something that is really stuck into the ground that you need to pull out, you are going to be yanking and really trying to activate the muscles all on the back sides of your shoulders, along your spine, and obviously the rhomboids, okay? So those are some pretty obvious examples. In modern life, you can also see we still kind of do this, although I think a lot of parents no longer do this because weakness. But this right here, we're gonna pretend this is a child. Okay, so my son, he's 4.5 years old. He still likes to be carried, and I still like carrying him. So what happens is sometimes I'm gonna carry him. I'm gonna hold him tight and close, and guess what's happening when I'm doing this? I'm using those muscles between my shoulder blades to stabilize, because otherwise he hangs forward here, and that's not a really solid carrying position. So carrying a child, carrying anybody, carrying food, carrying a large piece of meat that you've cut off an animal, carrying a large stack or bundle of wood, a stack of things you've harvested, a bunch of fruit, whatever, carrying stuff for any length of time is going to require your rhomboids to do some work. Now, I mentioned climbing earlier, and climbing will also be helpful, right? So if you are grabbing onto something and pulling yourself, that's going to get the shoulder blades to have to pull down and back, right? You may have heard trainers, physical therapists, everybody in the last 10 to 20 years mention that, hey, get those shoulder blades down and back. Well, pulling yourself, climbing, is a natural way, a very primal way, to get that to happen because it's required. Otherwise, you start cranking directly on the tinier muscles around here and it starts to hurt, right? Oh, before I forget, I also want to say thanks to Ellen, who is a Prime Mover, a brand new Prime Mover supporting member of the Upright Health family. So thank you so much for becoming a supporting member. And also to Apartment, that's your username. So thanks for becoming a stabilizing muscle. And Steve Hernandez, thank you very much for becoming a supporting member too. You're both awesome stabilizing muscles. So thank you very much. And if anyone's watching and you want to support me too, you can use that join or thanks button here on YouTube, or if you're watching this live, you can use the super comment thing to highlight your comment on my screen. So big thanks to you guys. Thanks for supporting me. Another thing that can help you work the rhomboids, it's kind of a dirtier thing, and you know, we probably don't do this too much, but if you're stalking an animal or you're stalking an enemy, one thing that you might need to do is actually crawl and slide on your belly. So that's also going to be working some of those shoulder blade stabilizers, right? So there's all these different activities that we might have had to do before to simply survive that required the use of more muscles. That's the story of pretty much all these muscles on us that in modern life just don't get used much, because survival is quite easy in a physical sense, right? We physically just need to sit in a chair or stand in one place, push the same buttons. It's not as physically taxing as walking a mile to get water, walking a mile to gather things, walking another mile to, you know, whatever it is, right? So in modern life, in recent memory, one of the things that used to work our rhomboids would have been mowing the lawn, when we had lawnmowers that had these pull chains. I don't even remember what they're called, but you had to pull like that. That would have been a rhomboid activity. Would have been really one-sided, but it was at least something. But now, from what I've seen, you just have push button starts. So that's gone. And now we might use our rhomboids if you're playing tug of war. So that could be a fun way that you can integrate rhomboids into your life. That's probably something you do at your annual company picnic, although I'm not sure anyone does those anymore since something happened in 2019 and 2020. I don't remember what, but you know, if you're trying to integrate more rhomboid activity to make them stronger, you have to recognize that sitting at a computer is not going to do it. Doing things where you're just kind of lightly activating them and stretching and changing the shoulder position is not going to do it. It's not going to do it enough. So you have to be doing exercises that are going to force the rhomboids to work, and then you want to add resistance, add challenge so that those muscles work. And I also want to be clear that it's not just a question of only the rhomboids, right? There are the middle traps, there's the lower traps, there's the upper traps. Like, you have a bunch of muscles that are back there that help control the shoulder blades. Don't obsess over just like, oh, it's going to be rhomboid action. It's also a question of making sure all those muscles help you control your shoulder blades in a very voluntary way, right? So we want volition at every position. So, you know, if I want them to go up, they go up. If I want them to go down, they go down. If I want them here, if I want them there, I can do all those things so that I have a full range of motion. That's going to require the coordination of many different muscles, not just the rhomboids. So keep that in mind as you are training your rhomboids. For exercises that help you wake them up, I'm going to link to those in the description box. There are definitely a few videos that I've already done, and the live stream I did yesterday covered some of those as well. And yeah, and so that is basically all I have to say about that. If you're looking for primal movements, it's going to be pulling things, carrying things, lifting things, climbing, and crawling. You can integrate those into your life in whatever way feels doable. If you don't like doing belly crawls, don't. But start working on pull-ups, start working on active hangs, start working on, you know, if you're in the gym, start working on rows, all those types of things. And I will have links to those in the description box. And I highly recommend you check those out. Also, check out the Shoulder Fix program. That's going to help you work your shoulders in a lot of different directions. And that's at uprighthealth.com/DIY, which you'll just head there. You'll see I have a couple of programs there, and the shoulder fix is on there with some good follow-alongs that'll help you fix your shoulders and make them feel good, all right? So they can move right and feel right, right? All right, so I'm gonna do one quick check here, see what's in the comments, and let's see. Max says, should I avoid upper back shoulder resistance trainings if I have dead rhomboids? Same question for any other muscle group. If your rhomboids are dead, no, you should not avoid resistance training. You should use them. You should definitely use your muscles if they're dead. I'm wondering if you're okay, so I wonder if the question here is, should you avoid training things that are making you shrug? So that's actually that would be a very useful distinction to make if you are trying to wake up your dead, quote unquote, rhomboids. If your rhomboids are difficult to wake up, a common issue is you may start using the upper traps and your levator scapula to lift up, right? So these muscles up here, because you can't feel and you can't use the ones that just pull straight back. So if that's what you're describing, Max, then you want to be very clear when you're doing any exercises that you are watching for what's happening, right? So if you're trying to just create retraction and you're getting elevation, you're doing it wrong. So you need to back it off, make it slower, be way more conscientious. The exercises I showed in yesterday's live stream, I showed those because those tend to work pretty well at making sure you don't hike your shoulders up and elevate. So I would just go back, check those out, and make sure you're doing them properly. And if you find like, okay, even then I can't do it, then reduce your range of motion, reduce the intensity level, reduce the amount you're like, oh, I want to do this. Use 10% effort, use 20% effort until you can see that it's a clean motion. And I guarantee once you get that clean motion, you'll be able to expand it and you'll be able to really start to key in on the correct muscles. So thank you for that question. And let's see. And then, oh, Alethea Bax, same question. Yeah, so everybody, check out, I'm going to link to this later. I'll put it in the description box. There's a video that I put out about a month ago that talked about what to do when you feel the wrong muscle fire and how to wake up the right muscle. Check that out once I post that link in the description box, because it's going to give you, I think it's 5 different strategies to help you feel the right muscles. But the chief one is really just, take it easy. Reduce your effort. Take it slower so that you can gradually start to feel the right thing kick in, and then you'll start to feel the right muscles without the compensation. Cool. All right. And last little thing. I thought I saw. Oh, okay. And that's it. Cool. Perfect. So Sandy, thank you. She answered my question, which is, what were those things called on a lawnmower? And that is called a pull cord. So I appreciate it. Thank you so much. If you found this helpful, you want to support the channel, you can use the thanks or the join button to become a member of the Upright Health channel, or use the PayPal or Patreon links that are down in the description box whenever I put those up in the future. When am I right now? Is this the past or the future? I don't know. I think it's a live stream, so we're right here. Anyway, thank you guys so much for watching. I really appreciate it. Keep those questions coming, and I'm glad you enjoyed these live streams. And like, share, subscribe, all that good stuff. And as always, I hope you remember that pain sucks, life shouldn't. See you guys.